What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Joshi's Ramblings. Today, we finally get the datasheet released for the Tempestus Aquilons that were coming out for Kill Team, and they look really good coming into regular 40k based on the datasheet that we have seen. So let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit. To start off with, the datasheet is pretty much everything we kind of expected. The biggest things that we're looking at here are that it is a 3-inch deep strike coming in for these guys, and of course you can't charge after doing so. And then all of their weapons are generally assault weapons rather than rapid fire weapons, which ends up working to be about the same thing in most cases. The biggest downside here is that because they are not rapid fire for the most part, you cannot take first rank fire, second rank fire. It does nothing for this unit unless you want an extra shot on that sentry volley gun, which, woo, yeah, great, cool. Somehow, our bolt pistol is still hitting on a 4+, so the Kazarkin and the Scion seem to know something about the game that the rest of us don't, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this and they're like, oh, I can't believe they're not 12 inches and fly. And it's like, yeah, I'm not surprised, because if you're paying any attention to the Kill Team releases, in the Kill Team as well, they were 6 inches and not fly. They just kind of ignored vertical distance, so there's not a lot of extra mobility that they got from that. However, 3-inch deep strike, very cool. The biggest things that we are seeing from this are, of course, the 3-inch deep strike and the servo sentry having a really funny rule. Also, before we talk about those, there are a couple rather funny keywords that this unit has. The first one is grenades, which is awesome because you can deep strike at 3 inches and then chuck a grenade. And then the other one is the smoke keyword. I've been noticing like more and more infantry seems to have the smoke keyword, which is like not that useful, but kind of funny because it's like I know Navy breachers have them. We also have them on things like Space Marine scouts and infiltrators, and I'm sure there's other examples that people can think of. So go ahead, throw those in the comments and let me know because I think it's very funny. But anyway, these guys have smoke, so cool. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the really interesting rules. We're going to start with the servo sentry because I think a lot of people saw this and went, wow, that's a really cool rule. Basically, when this unit is set up on the battlefield using the deep strike ability, the Tempestus Aquilon can shoot with its sentry weapon as if it were your shooting phase. Now, this is great because it means that you get to shoot it twice on the turn that you come in. One when you deep strike during your own movement phase, and then once again when you actually shoot during your shooting phase. You can also do this, it doesn't say it's phase locked or locked to your turn, so you can also do this on your opponent's turn with a rapid ingress. And this is pretty interesting, but let's go ahead and talk about it. The volley gun is pretty much strictly best into almost everything, but the flamer is slightly better into toughness 3 models, and the crack grenade is better into vehicles if for some reason you're shooting at vehicles with this unit, which you generally shouldn't do, unless you really have to. However, volley gun is generally going to be the best one that you're going to be doing. You can get up to 16 shots in the turn that you bring it in with the volley gun, which is going to clear a lot of small things. It's going to clear about 4 chaff units on its own. Other major thing to look at is you can do this during your opponent's turn, and the real value that you oftentimes get out of this is if you're going to rapid ingress against something like a Drukhari Scourges, you can drop down and kill 2 of them in their movement phase. If you combine this with something like an Overwatch from whatever the Scourges are shooting at, say a Lehman Russ or a Rogel Thorn, between the Overwatch and the rapid ingress, you're probably going to kill those Scourges. Now, is that worth 2 CP? Sometimes, but it is one of those things where if you can shut down your opponent's ability to shoot anti-tank, sometimes 2 CP is worth it to kill these kind of units. Okay, other major thing that I want to talk about is the 3-inch deep strike application. So this has a couple of big applications, especially because it is a large unit. You get 10 Tempestus Aquilons for 90 points, and they are going to be on 28 millimeter bases. You can't see that on the datasheet, I don't believe. However, did I lie? No. However, it is really cool because you can string them out and not just block one unit with them, but you can potentially touch multiple objectives and other things like that. So the major ways that I'm seeing this very likely to be used, let's go with the obvious one first. You can use this to steal objectives and score on them by coming in at 3 inches. You just drop them on some poorly screened objectives. You can put a couple OC on there. Then you can do things like shoot your opponents off of the objective, or if it's unprotected entirely, you can do things like cleanse or secure no man's land on these kind of objectives. The other major thing about this is because it's a 3-inch deep strike, you can fit in places that a lot of other units can't. It is 10, 28mm bases, so it's kind of a large footprint. However, you can usually find a way to string things out in order to score things like behind enemy lines, establish locus, what have you. A couple things that are a little bit less obvious. So you can go hunting for a lot of chaff with these, which is kind of cool if you can use it to deny primary. But the really big brain things that you can do with this are you can use it to kill things off that are preventing your scions from coming in. They're really good. This unit is really good at hunting things like autarchs in Eldar, so just like things that are alone up that are screening out, and also just chaff. You're going to be killing 10 chaff pretty consistently when this thing actually shoots. And if you shoot them off a position where that is the only thing that is screening for your opponents, suddenly your scions are going to have easy access, and your scions are your real heavy hitters. Aquilons are going to kill chaff, and that's about it. However, the scions can kill so much more than that. So if you can create some space for your other units to come in, remove a lot of their screens, suddenly you open up their backfield really easily. And so it performs a role similar to indirect. I was talking to Matthew Edgington recently, who went 4-1, I think it was, at the London Grand Tournament, maybe 4-0-1. And either way, he was talking about how he's using field ordnance batteries to poke holes in his opponent's screens so that his scion army can take advantage of them. The one other major tool that the 3-inch Deep Strike allows us to do is you can block charges with it. Imagine you're playing against something like World Eaters, where you get all of their berserkers or whatever who are lining up a charge into something relatively easy. Well, you can rapid ingress them, shoot them a little bit. You'll kill 1 or 2 Marines with the volley gun when you actually come down, and then you have to charge into the Aquilons. You can't charge into what you wanted to charge in the first place. This is a great way to prevent your opponent from getting the charges off that they want. Just make sure you don't allow your opponent to consolidate into the things you don't want them to consolidate into. But it's a great way to 90 points say, nope, you cannot charge any of these things. So I know some people are already talking about looking at how you can create Scion Jail and just making sure that your opponent can't ever leave. So it's a really interesting way to look at playing this unit. My general impressions at the end, I think this unit is going to be good, but not exceptional at this point. It's the kind of thing where my initial impressions are it's going to be a tech piece in most people's armies. For 90 points, which is what it currently says on the bottom, you're generally going to bring it with a plasma carbine and the hotshot las sniper thing, hotshot long las, that's what it's called. You're generally going to bring one of these to just poke holes and threaten your opponent that, yes, I do have something that can 3-inch deep strike, because it only really kills chaff, and we generally want to have a little bit more punching power because we're good at killing chaff already. The number of random stubbers and lasguns that we have in the army means that we're not really worried about killing these. We just need access to be able to kill them, and that's what the Aquilons provide. However, there are going to be ways where you can play 3 units of these for 270 points for 3 units of 10. You can create so much space on the board with these, and just creating lines across the entire center of the battlefield, making sure your opponent cannot really move. These guys are going to be excellent move blockers, and I know there's at least some people, again, who are thinking, maybe this is you just bring 30 of them to make sure your opponent cannot move, kill off all of their chaff, and force them to play with only their big pieces. So I can definitely see an argument where there will be a world with 3 of them. However, like I said, my current expectation is you're going to see a lot of one-ofs of these in top placing lists. So let me know what you think. This is a really cool unit. It's coming out a little bit later this month. One of the things that was interesting about this as well, as I continue to ramble, as that's the entire point of these videos, is they also said in the article that they will be coming out when the regularly scheduled Munitorum Field Manual comes out, which a lot of people were hoping was going to be tomorrow. But that implies to me that it's probably going to be later on in like a week or two. So we'll see. I'm definitely going to be looking into playing them as soon as I can, get some games in, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But anyway, let me know what you think about them. I think these models are super sick, and I'm looking forward to getting them painted up and on the tabletop. But for now, this has been Josh with Joushi Howard. We've been talking about the Aquilons. We'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.